Hello, guys. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Rose. Thank you so much for joining me for another video. Today, I will be doing a review on one of my favorite duets. This one is the Cat and Mouse duology. First one is Haunting Adeline, and the second one is Hunting Adeline. So we'll be talking about these two books today. So before we get started, over here, I like to get comfortable. So I have my nice warm tea. I'm doing ginger tea today. I know a lot of people don't like ginger, but I actually really enjoy the flavor. And as you know, I like to ensure that the room is smelling good and I'm smelling good. So today I am spraying on some of my absolutely favorite perfume. This one is called Spell on You by Louis Vuitton. It's a really nice feminine fragrance. It's more floral than anything else, but I really love this fragrance, guys, and it smells amazing in here. Now, my videos are not sponsored by any of these brands. I just love to set the atmosphere with fragrance, and it really gets me going in talking about these books. The Cat and Mouse Duet. Now, many people say that you have to read, I guess it's considered a prequel to the two books I mentioned, but there's also Satan's Affair. It's a really quick read, less than 200 pages, but I don't necessarily think you need to read this book in order to understand Haunting Adeline or Hunting Adeline, but there are some references to Satan's Affair in the two books. There's also a spin-off after the duology as well called Where's Molly? Once again, you don't need to read that. It's not a completion of the story in any way. So before I go and dig into some of the details of these books, there will be spoilers. So if you have not read these books, I am just going to warn you that there will be spoilers in this video, okay? The next thing, if you are new to dark romance, I would not recommend that you start your journey with these books. They are very dark. The theme in here is dark. The characters are dark. The situations are dark. And I would say that there are a lot of triggers in here. So be aware of the triggers before going into dark romances. And as I said, these are probably right up there on the scale of dark. So just be advised. Haunting Adeline essentially introduces us to our female character, and as the book suggests, her name is Adeline, and she's called Addie in the book. Now, she inherits a house from her grandma, and she moves in, she fixes up the house and everything. And the house itself in the story is its own character. The house is obviously haunted by her grandma and maybe some other descendants in that family or some other people that may have died in the house. So the house is almost like a character within the story itself. In both books, it leans into people kind of feeling like some ghost around or hearing things, seeing things, feeling like there's another presence around. So yeah, right off the get-go, it gives you like she's living in a haunted house, okay? So if that is not dark and spooky enough, after moving in and getting comfortable, she realizes that she is actually being watched. There is this guy that we find out he's our male character, and he is a stalker. So he sees her, she's an author, and he sees her at one of her events and he just gets obsessed with her. So he goes and he finds out where she lives, and then he starts to watch her through her windows. He starts to stalk her. Right away, we are breaking laws in this book. And she called the police several times, but he is a professional. So he never leaves any evidence behind for them to find him or any clues that he was actually there. So even though she consistently calls the police, they're not able to help her. All the time when this is happening, she then discovers a diary from her grandma. And I like the way how they cover that in here. Like in the book, she is reading pages from the diary And it looks like this. Whenever she finds an entry into the diary, it's on its own page like this, which I think is cool. But in the diary, her grandma's diary, it talks about the fact that her grandma was also stalked by another gentleman and end up falling in love with him. So there seems to be some continuation of the crazy attraction to stalkers. Because Adeline, she ends up liking, the attention that she's getting from the stalker. And he ends up breaking into the house and watching her sleep. And then eventually there's some dubious consensual activities that happen between the two. Now, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, there will be spoilers, okay? So all of that didn't really throw me. I didn't really think, okay, this is too dark. This is weird. It is weird having a stalker and being attracted to the stalker. But the story just kind of went and took a huge dip, a huge turn when he breaks into the house and he is armed. He has a gun and he uses the gun in a sexual way on her. And she actually enjoys it. So this is where I was like, okay, there's some kinky fuckery that's going to be going on in this book, because there is no way that somebody would have a gun. This is a stalker. He intrudes. He breaks into your house. You have no control over the situation. And he is using a gun on you. And you are enjoying this? Apparently, Adeline, affectionately called Addie in the book, she gets off on fear. She likes to be afraid, and that apparently turns her on. So having a stalker, having someone that is dominating the situation, putting her in very risque situations, she's starting to realize that this is something that she actually enjoys. So that is just to give you one example of some of this stuff that goes on in this book. Now, the only weapons that has been involved. So it definitely is taboo right off the bat. The thing that interests me about it is that while we know that this guy is weird, he's a stalker, he's breaking the law, he has a lot of resources at his fingertips, so he can erase videos and all of that, so nobody can catch him. So there's a lot of things that we would say are unsafe, okay, about the way how he's acting. But then they start to get more into his story and paint him as this person who is breaking the law, but doing so to save women or young girls from being trafficked. So there's a lot of sexual trafficking of females and potentially males in the book, but it focuses mainly on females. And he has made it his life's mission to go after those rich and powerful people who are responsible for trafficking these girls. It really is a tug on, do you like the guy? Because in one instance, he's a hero, he's a good guy, he is saving people from a horrible situation. But on the other hand, he is stalking Addie, breaking into the house, breaking laws, using weapons on her, forcing her into sexual situations. So it really has the reader in this in-between state, because you want to love the guy, but then he does things that are so dark and disturbing that you are just perplexed as to, okay, is he good or is he not? You really are riding that line very closely. So H.D. Carlton did a fabulous job at that in these books. Addie ends up catching the attention of some really bad people who are trafficking girls, and unfortunately, they're also the enemy of Z, which is her the male character in here. So they actually capture her. She goes through some very dark, disturbing situations after she's captured in the follow-up book 2 of Hunting Adeline. And it shows how Z and his team try very hard to get her back and how they eventually rescue her. While she is captured, she goes through a lot. So this book has themes of rape. So obviously there are people that are guarding her, that want to take advantage of her. There are men who are willing to buy her, and they also get the opportunity to take advantage of her. So there's a lot of lack of consent in the book as well. So if you are triggered by those types of things, this may not be a good read for you, but it definitely is very descriptive of the acts and things that these men do to her. So just be aware if you are going to pick up these books. But guys, he ends up, as I said, rescuing her eventually, and they make a pact to go after the folks that captured her and essentially bring them down. So it shows how he actually takes the time to ensure that she is recovered from the trauma that she experienced. So once again, we're slowly liking him again. He starts to train her so she learns how to fight, how to protect herself. So we're falling a little bit more in love with him there. And during these times, they're rescuing some of the females that got caught up in the same group that Addie was captured by. So we fall more in love with him. I would say while the first book paints him as a more dark, dubious character, the second book really evolves his role, evolves his character, and we start falling more for him. Not to say that he doesn't do some really shady stuff in Hunting Adeline, but more of the good sides of him is shown in book 2. So therefore, you start to really fall in love with him. She is finally able to start admitting to herself that she's attracted to the fair. She's attracted to his personality and the crazy stuff that he does. And that's what drives her. That's what attracts her to him. And once she owns that, then I think she's more able to be accepting of the relationship and admit that she actually has fallen in love with her stalker. And he is head over heels in love with her. He will unalive anyone, okay, that messes with Addie. And I think she also likes that sense of protection as well and ends up starting to depend on him, knowing that if anything bad were to happen to her again, that he would move heaven and earth to find her, okay? So she starts to trust him in that way. So it's interesting to see how their relationship ends up developing and how he slowly brings Addie back to the person that she was prior to her being captured, and actually even a better version of herself, because now she's stronger, she's willing to fight back, and she's more than happy to take on the people that took advantage of her. So obviously the book ends what we could call a happy ending. They did end up killing the leader of the group that captured Addie and pretty much broke that whole organization apart. So that was a happy ending. And we do have some characters in here as well that had really good endings as well. For instance, Sibby, who is just, I love Sibby. Like, she is this girl that sees ghosts and talks to them, and she believes that they're alive and they're helping her to murder the bad guys. We fall in love with her. Z and Addie ends up taking her in pretty much as well, and she becomes one of the group, or the people that help Z to bring down these large organizations and government organizations and these rich folks that's taking advantage of these girls. But her story, I think, may be a spin-off, and I'm hoping it is, because she ends up running away with one of the guys that kind of comes in towards the end of the story. He's a caretaker for Addie's mom, but I guess they knew each other from before, and they disappeared together. Yeah, hopefully there is a book that follows Sibby because we fell in love with her character in these books. Would I recommend the books? Yes, I would recommend the books. However, I would only do so if you are a seasoned dark romance reader because of, as I said, all the different taboo out there things that occurs in the story. Just be aware of that. I would not encourage this to be your first dark romance book, okay? Um, Other books that are similar but not quite as dark is Lights Out by Navessa Allen. Now, it has the same vibes where the guy stalks her, breaks into her house, but it's more, the banter is more light. There are no weapons involved. There is no rape or any of those things involved in that book. So that may be intro to the Cat and Mouse Duet. That would be my advice, is to just be aware that there are some very dark themes that is in this book, but it has become one of my favorite dark romance books. The reason, again, is because H.D. Carlton really treads that line of loving the characters, hating them, the good, the bad, the opposites attracting. That tension really holds that tension throughout the book. So the reader is engaged. They are questioning themselves. They're laughing, they're crying, they're horrified. You name it. These books definitely bring that all out of you when you are reading this. And they're big books, like they're not smaller books by any means. But yeah, I got through these books in a matter of days because the story is so good. So once again, guys, would I recommend it? Yes, but just know what you're getting into, okay? So that is my quick review of Hauntin' and Huntin' Adeline. Okay, I did that wrong. That is my review on Hauntin' Adeline and Huntin' Adeline. By the way, as you guys know, I'm obsessed with book covers. Look at the art. Oh my God. The art on these books, I absolutely love it. This black, gray, and red theme that's going on. Absolutely love it. There you go, guys. Thank you so much for joining me for this video. Let me know what are your favorite dark romance books. As I said, I loved this one. If you think of something darker that you think that I should read, or just a story that you think is very good, leave it in the comments for me. And consider liking and subscribing to my channel for more videos like this. Bye!